So, I'm not a big comic book guy anymore. I used to be way more of a big comic book guy, but the serialized superhero comics, not exactly my style, but something kind of funny happened recently. You've probably heard about it. But recently, an issue of, it was a Captain America comic, Red Skull? The guy Red Skull, okay? He has been reimagined in a Jordan Peterson-esque way. Jordan Peterson was tweeting the other day, and he was like, excuse me, is the arch villain Red Skull really being portrayed using my mannerisms and the language that I use? He was like actually confused. Is this in the same issue? Sir, is this from sir, how do I embed JPEG, please? Give me some photos. Give me some images. We're gonna make this work. We're gonna do this. Twitter, you wanna function? Here we go. Make it happen with me, okay? There was yeah, here. It's not exactly subtle. Look, the Red Skull, 10 Rules for Life, Chaos and Order, Carl Luger's Genius, The Feminist Trap. I mean, we're not exactly dealing with a high degree of subtlety here. God, the Red Skull looks ridiculous. I mean, just it's a red skull. I don't know. Anyway, and people are memeing the hell out of this. We have a whole segment here. Oh my God, there's so much, and it all looks so silly. Where's the? Here it is. I want to look at this in a second. But before we look at this, there's like this debate going on. It's like, is this bad? Is this good? Is this funny? Is this not? There are objective answers to these questions. First of all, this is objectively funny, okay? This is objectively funny. This right here, it's comedy gold, all right? The idea of Jordan Peterson, like, waking up at 1 p.m., you know? Like, the steak, like, just raw meat littered all around his, like, naked body in bed. He, like, groggily gets up and lumbers over to the laptop to see that, people are, you know, like, the comic has been published with his words being put in the mouth of a neo-Nazi supervillain. That is objectively funny, okay? There's no getting around that. Now, some people are saying that the writing is ham-fisted and that the direct, extremely explicit allegory to an existing political figure is kind of cringy, and all it really does is galvanize Jordan Peterson's audience because it makes it look like SJWs genuinely believe that Jordan Peterson is a neo-Nazi. And there's some legitimacy to that argument, because Jordan Peterson isn't a neo-Nazi. He's just the kind of guy who makes people neo-Nazis, eventually. See, the reason why this comparison has been made, fundamentally, there are two main reasons. The first one is that Jordan Peterson, and I hope this isn't a contentious opinion in this circle, is kind of a cult leader. The way Jordan Peterson commands his audience, the language that he uses, the way his fans respond to him, it's not cult leader like he's going to make them all commit suicide or anything, but in terms of the cult of personality that he has garnered, it is significant. And he very deliberately targets a specific set of people who feel alienated by modern society, and those people, I mean, they darn near worship him, you know? They do. If you've talked to a Peterson fan, like, they are rhapsodious about Jordan Peterson. Yeah, they don't hear criticisms about him. They won't hear it. They won't listen to counter-arguments. Because he's their dad. He's their dad. He's like their stepdad or whatever. That's kind of his job. That's what he does. That's the whole role. You've seen the comic, right? The comic is, there's like a kid, he's 12, and his parents are like, clean your room. And the kid's like, fuck you! And then it's like he's 22, and he's on YouTube, and Jordan Peterson, clean your room, bucko. And the kid's like, genius! You know? You've seen that comic? There's like a million variants of that comic, but I've seen it 1,000 times over. It's, you know, and it's true. Is Red Skull a neo-Nazi? I was under the impression he was a Nazi. Good point. Though, if the Red Skull is alive and kicking in 2021, is it a different Red Skull? Is he just immortal because of the Red Skull? I don't know anything. Don't inform me. Don't inform me. Don't. So anyway, he is immortal. Oh, you'd think somebody would have killed him by now. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, all that being said, So Jordan Peterson has kind of like a weird like cult of personality thing going on, which does exacerbate arguments that he could be Hydra leading Nazi Red Skull kind of guy. I mean, there's an association there, but the main reason is because of this. So this is a page from said comic. I'm going to read it. Do you think can we handle that? Can we handle me reading this for just a second? Okay. So Red Skull's given a speech. I want you to ask yourself if this sounds familiar. Should I do this in like a hammy German accent? Probably not. Here, I'll just... We grow in numbers each time I visit. Thank you, my friends, for your courage and dedication to our cause. I've just come from Europe, my homeland. Do the accent? I can't... In fact, and do you know what I saw there? It was an invading army. These so-called refugees, millions of them, marching across the continent, bringing their fanatical beliefs and their crime with them. They attack... Stop, no. They attack our women. Oh, is this a different comic? Oh, this is different, but it's the point is salient. Hold on. They attack our women and bomb our cities. And how do our leaders respond? Do they push them back and enforce our borders as is our sovereign duty? Of course not, no. They say, here, take our food, take our shelter, take our way of life, and then take our lives. Despicable. So it is good to be here where some men still know how to fight. When I was a young man, there was a great war, and our two countries did not see eye to eye. But all the sides, they agreed on some certain things, the fundamental responsibilities of a nation. Protecting the land through strength, preserving the heritage and culture of people, offering them opportunity. Now look at the world today. Look here at this dead husk that was these United States. How the mighty have fallen. Who is protected, I ask you? On my flight, I was briefed about these brave patriots fighting the government's illegal claims to their land. Who does the land belong to if not the people? This is who your government sees as the transgressors? What about the criminal trespassers who made a mockery of your borders? No, they are protected, of course. But that is only the beginning. Your entire culture is under siege. The principles your country was founded upon lost the name of tolerance. Your religion, your beliefs, your sense of community all tossed aside like trash, and you cannot even speak out against it lest you be called a bigot. And who benefits from all but the vultures feasting on the carcass? The bankers who stole your homes out from under you, the politicians they purchased. Well, let them call you what they will. I know who you truly are, the beginning of a revolution, to the glory of Hydra, etc., etc. So this is from a different comic. Thank you for pointing that out. But this plays out pretty much identically to far-right language today, doesn't it? I mean, whether you're talking alt-right or Lauren Southern or even, honestly, people like Sargon of Akkad, this language is pretty much the same. And that's the reason why, while maybe the invocation of Red Skull as a Jordan Peterson XP isn't necessarily the most responsible thing to do or to be, the fact remains that Jordan Peterson's language is not exactly super distinct from that of Nazis. Now, it should be noted, Nazis don't like Jordan Peterson. Nazis do not like Jordan Peterson because Jordan Peterson, they call him like Juden Peterstein or whatever. And the reason they don't like Jordan Peterson is because Jordan Peterson explicitly advocates for individualism, which is antithetical to the long-term goals of any fascist organization. Essentially, he's not radical enough. Of course, you'll note that Nazis also hate Trump because he's a Zionist and didn't like Sargon of Akkad because he's a cuck. And that did not change the fact that all three of those people are part of a pipeline that leads towards neo-Nazism. You've all heard the phrase cultural Marxism, I assume? That's something you've heard of before? This is something with which you are familiar? Something you've heard of? Well, I could bore you with my extremely extensive technical knowledge, or if you'd like, I can just look at a Wikipedia article. Cultural Marxism is a far-right anti-Semitic conspiracy theory which claims Western Marxists are as the basis of continuing academic and intellectual efforts to subvert Western culture. Whoa! I hear what you're thinking. Now, Jordan Peterson talks about cultural Marxism all the time. How is it anti-Semitic? How is it far-right? How is it a conspiracy theory? Well, the problem is that cultural Marxism, and I've said this before, is literally just an updated term for cultural Bolshevism, a term widely used by Nazi German-sponsored critics to denounce modernist and progressive movements of the culture. Just one-to-one. Cultural Marxism is a contemporary variant of the term, which is used to refer to the far-right anti-Semitic cultural Marxism conspiracy theory. The line here is pretty clear, okay? Now, back when the original Nazis were running about, doing nefarious deeds, they wanted to have an explanation for the degeneracy of the Weimar Republic, that was Germany before Nazis took it over, that didn't involve condemning the moral character of the German people. See, because they had kind of like two opposite, opposing things they needed to do. At one, they needed to say the Weimar Republic was degenerate, it was disgusting, it was despicable, but they also need to say the people in the Weimar Republic are the Aryan people, they are strong, they are united, they are the... Yeah. So how do you fix that problem? How do you simultaneously condemn the culture while venerating the people who produced it? Well, what you do is you say Jews did everything. That's bad. Yeah, you blame the Jews. Cultural Bolshevism, sometimes referred to specifically as art Bolshevism, music Bolshevism, or sexual Bolshevism, referred specifically and, in time to art Bolshevism was any time Jews made art to contemporary and modern. Music Bolshevism was any time Jews made music not Mozart-y enough, I don't know. And sexual Bolshevism was anything that wasn't missionary with the hole cut in the sheet. Okay? You sound like Zizek. You keep saying those words enough times back and forth, and we'll see how you hold up, okay? Basically, the original Nazis solved this problem by blaming everything on the Jews. And they said the way the Jews did this was they had infiltrated everything. The politicians, the banking, the academia, that was a big one. And they used their influence to disseminate degeneracy into the rest of their culture. So the problem is, what is the cultural Marxism conspiracy theory? Well, it's the claim that an elite group of Marxists and Frankfurt School intellectuals, and by the way, anytime you're talking to a person and they say Frankfurt School corruption, okay, they might as well be speaking the echoes. The Frankfurt School is cited as one of the prevailing Jewish influences on American culture today, okay? And if you want, you can look into their history. They were pretty based. They did a lot of cool left-wing stuff, okay? Are subverting Western society with a culture war that undermines the Christian values of traditional conservatism and promotes the liberal values of 1960s counterculture. This is a Nazi conspiracy theory. All you have to do is change Marxist theorists and Frankfurt School intellectuals to Jews, and it's identical. It's exactly the same. There's no difference. It's the same conspiracy theory. And the change from Marxist theorists and Frankfurt School intellectuals to Jews is not a very long one to go when the origins of this term were cultural Bolshevism. So, again, keep that in mind. The reason why I don't mind people who associate Jordan Peterson with Nazis too much is because his main political talking point is essentially just a rebranding of neo-Nazi conspiracism. It doesn't go much beyond that. Everything that he says about Marxism is motivated out of the same general, we need to defend Western society against this corrupting influence vibe. And, I mean, okay. I mean, maybe one day you wake up and somebody's saying you're the Red Skull. That's how you'd say A and B, okay? That's 1 to 2 to 3, all right? Now, I don't think that Jordan Peterson specifically is an anti-Semite. I've never gotten that vibe from him. I don't think that he's a Nazi or anything to that effect. But when we're talking about the influences that massive public figures have on common discourse, whether or not they're something is utterly irrelevant. It's only what they lead other people to do or to be. Now, if I were the people who wrote that comic, I would not have made Jordan Peterson the Red Skull. I would have made the Red Skull agree with the Jordan Peterson XP. I think that would have been much better. So rather than have the Red Skull screaming about 10 rules for life and what have you, you have, let's say, the story, open scene. We have the American, or I guess Canadian, academic, talking about cultural Marxism and the death of the West and the need to protect our culture. And Red Skull likes this guy, so he starts recruiting like Hydra info cells from Jordan Peterson proxy fan groups. I know that sounds dumb, but don't you think that would have sold the point much better? The point would be, hey, maybe this guy's not a Nazi, but holy shit, you are priming people to be a Nazi when you talk like that, okay? I think that'd be a lot better, more responsible. It doesn't galvanize JP quite as much. And by the way, if he didn't like that and he had to defend himself against that comic, that interpretation of his positions, he would have to take the position that his fans don't turn into Nazis. And I think that would be a much more interesting discussion than whether or not he himself is a Nazi. That would be a significantly better one, because then we can talk about it. Like, hey, I don't know, we can go to some Nazi forums. How many of you started off as Jordan Peterson fans? We can take some polling. That'd be fun. You could spam him on Twitter. But when it comes to whether or not he's a Nazi, I mean, I don't think he is, but one way or another, that's locked up in his head. We're not going to. Okay. Yeah. More verifiable. Exactly. Yeah. Well, anyway, hopefully that makes sense.